some of my favorite receivers of all time. Watching like the Chad Johnson, who is probably my favorite receiver of all time, where your best receiver, he ran over to his side of the offense, pointed at the referee, told him he was on the line, and he ran his route against some of the best DBs and man coverage. And you see what Andy Reid and the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs do with Tyreek Hill. He hardly ever lines right up on the line of scrimmage. Why? He's a small guy. It's harder to press a guy that's already a yard or two behind the line of scrimmage. And now you got to try to guess where he's going to go. Big night for him. 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's to be expected. Probably he's definitely going to make his first Pro Bowl as a wide receiver this year. Aaron Donald again deserved every bit of that money that the Rams threw at him in the offseason. That was a well-deserved holdout for him. You see him making plays all over the field, and I think they put a stat up last night that he's double-teamed, I believe, on like 70% of the defensive snaps, and he still came into last night with 13.5 and got 2 more last night. Like, man, this guy is crazy amazing. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs should have won a game. I'm going to blame it on Patrick Mahomes. 5 turnovers. There's no way that you can be the MVP candidate or the MVP frontrunner and have 5 turnovers in a game of this magnitude. And 2 of those interceptions were just terrible. The first 2, the one that he threw in the back of his offensive lineman that got tipped, and the other one that Marcus Peters picked off. He was late with that throw. He had him at first. He waited. He slid, and then that's when, the ball got tipped. But you can't have 5 turnovers in that kind of game.
So a couple of points that you made there, Billy. Great segment there. I do think, just kind of thinking of everything that you brought up, this game was made for the fans. If you were a Rams fan, you got an early 16-0 lead. If you were a Chiefs fan, you saw your team take that lead away and go up 10 points. And then down the stretch, it became a nice back-and-forth game that no matter who you're a fan of, you love. To the point of Tyreek Hill, I think it's very funny that all this is coming out of the season that Jalen Ramsey said, you're not a receiver. I mean, he didn't say that verbatim, but that's essentially what he was saying. You're not a receiver. You're a returner.
You were not a Pro Bowl receiver.
But the dude's a Pro Bowl receiver. Like Billy said, this is happening now. And to another Billy's point, I'm with you. Me and Billy were about the same age. We remember the T.O., the Chad Johnsons. Those were great receivers, and they always bragged about their catch radius. They're going to get an open route. You throw it in their catch radius, it's good. Tyreek Hill has a run radius where he just runs to the open spot of the field, and if you just throw it into an area where he can get underneath it, it's good. So, obviously he doesn't have, he's tiny, he doesn't have the big catch radius, but he has that run radius. You just drop it in. If you can get 80 yards downfield and he's there, he will navigate himself and to catch it. To Billy's also point about Mahomes, yeah, it is rough to have 5 turnovers, and it's going to be tough to win an MVP with a 5-turnover game. But if you were going to have a 5-turnover game, this is the game that you have it in, because he puts up 6 touchdowns. Actually, until you said that, I forgot he even had the 2 fumbles, because, the interceptions is all what they really talk about with the quarterback. They don't really highlight the fumbles too much. I forgot about the 2 fumbles until Billy brought them up. Now, to the interception, the first interception, I don't quite, but I'm not as hard on him as I think Billy was on it. I think at this point he had thrown quite a few passes. He didn't really move his feet, which is a big no-no for a quarterback. But come on, man. He was slinging that thing everywhere. And let's not take away from the defender who got his hand on the ball once he realized he couldn't get to Mahomes. Now, the third one, I get you had to have happened. The second one's the one I had the problem with. There's a minute 20 left, first down, and you try to get everything. And you're only down 3. Mind you, you're only down 3. And you still had your timeout. You didn't need everything that you were trying to get. And when you watch that play again, there was 3 or 4 Rams and maybe 1.5 Chiefs. There was a Chiefs player that was over there somewhere. I don't think he had a legit shot at making the play. So that's one of the one I'm hard on him for, because the time, the score, the situation, the play, none of which said you had to go here. Now, I know his arm was hit, but he could have made 100 other options that potentially did not result in an interception.
Well, let me stop you right there.
One last point.
One
last point, Mike, and then I'll let you have your show. I'll let you have your. This to Sue, that even goes further to what I was saying, Billy, about if you watch game film, Sue looked amazing. And Sue, arguably, you could brag about him as much as you bragged about Hill, and I mean, obviously the numbers aren't going to reflect it, but you can brag about him as much as you did Hill and the quarterback. But everybody's going to say, "Oh, this is the new NFL. It's horrible. It's horrible with no defense." When actually we saw a really defensive masterpiece from one player. Now it's a team game, but I think Donald is not going to get the respect he should. But he had a really nice game last night. Obviously, the numbers aren't going to look what the quarterbacks look like or the 200-yard receiving Hill had. But, man, he really played good. And if you watch some film on that, it's going to stand out. But what were you saying, Mike?
Well, I just wanted to kind of talk about that second interception that, like, you were referring to. Yes, he did underthrow the receiver because his arm was hit, but you were also referring to Tyreek Hill, like, you know, just his ability to run down the pass. Tyreek Hill was behind all those guys that you were referring to. If Patrick, you know, he put some arm behind that ball, you know, and throws it 10 more yards, that is a touchdown to Tyreek Hill.
Well, that's the reason why I said that he missed the throw. He had him early, but he waited, and then he sidestepped, and by that time the defender is already there. If he lets that ball go when anticipating Tyreek Hill, I can't remember which receiver it is. You said it was Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
but
he was behind
he's
like
thrown
everybody.
enough balls to these guys that he's already normally anticipating these type throws. He didn't. He wanted to throw it, and then he pulled it down, and he slipped up, and then by that time, you know, the dogs are there now. So that's what I was referring to. Matthew, to your other point, that third interception, I don't put that on him. At that point, you're just trying to make a play out of anything. But I can't excuse the first four turnovers. You know, the defender, the linebacker, he did make a good play on that one, on the first one, on the pick six. But as Mahomes, you got to put that ball at the feet, not at the back of your offensive lineman. I mean, that's day one quarterbacking. You throw it at the feet. Nobody can catch the ball there. So
he was. Yeah,
I'm not as harsh on him, but I just, you know, I just think those were costly turnovers because any other quarterback, say Tony Romo, would have had these type turnovers, we wouldn't be talking about the 6 touchdown game. The time where he battled Peyton at Cowboy Stadium, and he matched Peyton Manning touchdown for touchdown, 5 touchdowns. All we talk about is that one interception he had. And I'm just saying, for Mahomes, we have to give him the credit, but also 4 turnovers, he has to get some of the blame.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's enough blame to go around here. And just a really quick touch. To Mike's point, I wouldn't bet. Now, I've never been hit in the arm by an NFL linebacker or D lineman, so I can't throw much blame on that. But to Mike's point, I wouldn't even bet money that he was going to Tyreek Hill. It looked like he was going to Conley in the triangle of defenders. Now, obviously, you could argue anyone that is a Chiefs fan or in that Chiefs organization is going to argue that it looked like he was going to Hill, but he got hit. I think he was going to Conley. To your point, I don't think he was throwing the ball away. It was an RPO, which you really don't typically read too many defenders in the RPO. You kind of read that linebacker to see if he steps up. So, I get what you're saying. If he's throwing the ball away, just chuck it at the lineman's feet. But the first interception was an RPO. He read that linebacker. That linebacker did what he wanted to make the throw. It was just that the guy who really came out and had the 2 touchdowns just got a hand up. And that was a great play by him. I mean, that's the down part to the RPO, that it takes literally no thought. You read one guy and you make the play, which works a lot of times, but if someone else anticipates it, you're in trouble. And, you're absolutely right. He should get more blame because that's a great point you brought up about Tony Romo going toe-to-toe with Peyton Manning. Everybody forgets that one interception. Tony Romo just had the bad misfortune of playing for the Cowboys. Nobody hates the Chiefs like they did the Cowboys. If they did, if this was Tom Brady doing that last night, if this was a Cowboys quarterback doing this last night, you're absolutely right, Billy. We would be dissecting every interception and not mention one word about the passing touchdown.
All right, guys, and let's go ahead and just leave the Monday night game there now. I mean, that game was definitely as advertised for the last 2-3 weeks, possible Super Bowl matchup, and and hopefully we get to see more games like that. Maybe not the high scoring games, but those exciting on your edge seat games in the future. So let's move over to the association. On yesterday's show, Matthew Lau kind of touched on this subject, but I kind of want to give Billy the floor on this question first here. Just like Matthew alluded to yesterday, Golden State has gone 2-6 in their last 8 games since Steph Curry has been hurt. This is the worst stretch of games, the worst record that Steve Kerr has ever experienced as a head coach at Golden State. So, Billy Hatton, what is your takeaway from this? What are your thoughts? Just give me your thoughts on it.
Well, I'm going to start on the basketball side of things first, so there's no speculation. I still believe the Golden State Warriors is the best team in basketball. I still believe the Golden State Warriors will win a NBA championship, barring any catastrophic injury to one Kevin Durant or at least 2 of the big 4. Outside of that, the Golden State Warriors is winning the title. They still have Kevin Durant, who I believe is the second best player in the NBA. They still have Steph Curry, who's hurt right now. He will be back. The 2-time MVP, first unanimous MVP. We didn't have some great players that play in the NBA. None has ever been a unanimous MVP. They have Klay Thompson, who can get hot as a firecracker. I mean, just like that. They have Boogie, who what I'm hearing is supposed to be on pace to make it to the Warriors after the All-Star break. They still have Andre Iguodala, a veteran. Sean Livingston, who's a veteran. They have, Steve Kerr. He's a good coach. He's played in this league. He's won championships. So that side of things, I don't think is gonna be hindered. Off the court, Kevin Durant is gone. You can't say what you said to him and expect Kevin Durant to be there next year. Now, I thought, from the group chat that we have, me and Matthew, we always talk back and forth. And I say that he was going to go next year. He was going to opt in next year of his 1-1 this year, play 1 year in the new stadium, and then leave and get his own team, because he hears the chatter from real NBA guys saying that they don't respect the way he's winning. And all of us being athletes know that we play for one thing. That's the respect of our peers. We like to hear somebody say, yeah, hey, man, that old Matthew, man, he can really play. We like hearing that, because the writers and all that other stuff, that don't matter. The people that played the game is who you want to respect from. KD hears the chatter that he hasn't won on his own team. Draymond said, we won without you. He knows that's true. Kevin Durant is gone. But this year, the Warriors three-peat. First team since Kobe and Shaq.
Now, something interesting I want to say to your point on that, Billy. You've said in the past that the only thing that matters is winning. And I get it. When you're in the NBA and the NFL, you would want your peers, your equals, to respect you. But I don't think he can have both. And because, look, he's getting older and he's good. I'm not saying he's getting old and he's going to start declining. But let's look at some of his options. Let's say he leaves. Let's say he stays with Golden State. He stays there 2 or 3, 4 years. He could win 2 or 3, 4 more titles. But, like, to your point, he's not going to get the respect that he wants of, hey, you haven't won this on your own. But let's say he goes somewhere else. If he goes to L.A. and plays with LeBron, he's still not going to get that respect. If he goes to Washington, New York, any of those other teams, and it's his team, I don't think he's going to be a winner. And then when he starts losing, if that happens and he loses in the first or second round, I think the disrespect's just going to continue because, A, he hasn't won, and B, we're just in a disrespectful environment. I mean, with social media and everything, anyone can be disrespectful, even players, and they just hide behind their social media account. But I don't think he's going to be able to get both. So he does have to find, to your point, I don't know if there's one more important thing, but I do think there's three things that people either play for, and each one have their own priority. It's winning, it's respect, or it's money. I don't think in KD's case it's money because he's taken enough pay cuts to get the wins. But I think at this point in his career, with the way that the league's going, where there are these super teams everywhere, and, you know, you can see it in going in college. Look, top 3 players in the country go to Duke. You know, it's happened at Kentucky. It happens in AAU. I don't know if KD's going to get to do both. I don't know if he's going to get to earn the respect of his peers by winning a title on his own team. I just don't think that's likely. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he is hearing the buzz. Everybody hears it. Draymond made it clear to him, we can win without you. But if he goes to his own team, I don't know if he's going to win there. So I guess it all depends on what's more important to him.
Just a quick point. Yeah, I'm with you on. I don't think if he has his own team, he's going to win a championship, which is the reason why he jumped ship. Because, you know, they could have won that series against the Warriors. They were up 3-1 with a game in their building. So, yeah, I agree on that point. But to your LeBron point, it won't seem as bad if he goes play with LeBron. And this is the reason why. He's shown you whether, you know, I think it's obviously just because he's on a better team now, but he's shown you that he can go toe-to-toe with LeBron, and he's won the last 2 times that anything was played for anything of significance. He's been the Finals MVP 2 times playing against LeBron. So now, in his case, he can say, listen, because in Kevin Durant's mind, he already thinks that he's better than LeBron. So I done beat you twice. Now, Draymond telling me that, oh, yeah, they won without me, which I know is true. But guess what I should do? Let me go play in L.A. and beat the team that I left. The narrative changed at that point. So, yeah, I do agree that if he go gets his own team, he's likely not to win. But going to play with LeBron don't seem as bad now because it's not like when you was on the Thunder and you couldn't beat LeBron.
I mean, that's a good point. My final take on it would be, I think the most, which, I mean, if you hate what he's done, you're never going to change. Like people who hated the decision for LeBron to go to Miami, if you hate LeBron, you're going to hate no matter what he does. I think the best case he has for him that seems realistic, that's going to save him face and give him some prop to just your typical fan, is if, to Billy's point, they lose 2 players. Let's just say, and I hope this doesn't happen as a Warriors fan, let's just say Draymond and Steph Curry have to miss the entire playoffs, and Kevin Durant just goes nuts and wins it. I think that's more of a likely option to save face and continue to win a title. Because, then again, like I said, in today's climate, you're going to have haters no matter what decision you do. He could go start an NBA team in New Mexico and go 8-0, and people are still going to say that, oh, well, he played with so-and-so.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and end that right there and move in from the professional ranks to the amateur ranks. Believe it is James Wiseman is set to make his college pick here noon on ESPN today. He does have a public list of 5 schools of Florida State, Kansas, Kentucky, Memphis, and Vanderbilt, but realistically that list is down to Florida State, Kentucky, and Memphis. He is the number 1 overall prospect in this class, and he stands at 7 foot tall, 247 pounds. So Matthew Lyle, what do you think he lands, and does he fit in well at that school?
Well, I mean, he's going to fit in well whatever school he goes to. You're 7 foot tall, but you know, I think he ends up going to Memphis, but I don't know what that means. Because we've seen number 1 players coming out of recruiting classes over the last decade go to different schools and have different results. I mean, you had Harrison Barnes, went to North Carolina, was supposed to be the next Kobe Bryant. I mean, he turned out okay, but it took him 2 years. You also have guys like Anthony Davis who are bona fide stars. You also have guys who made it scowl of the air and he became nothing. I mean, Ben Simmons is great now, or he's solid now in the pros, but he had a horrible college career. I mean, as far as a team standard goes, I mean, he got his, but the team didn't do anything. And this year it's left to be unknown whether it's R.J. Barrett or Zion Williams. They both look very nice, but I mean their future is set to, still in question. I think with James Wiseman, I think he's going to go to Memphis because he's going to want the team to be around him 100%. If he comes to, I don't think Florida State's really a viable option. If he comes to Kentucky, Cal's either going to have guys return or he's going to go out and recruit other guys. He's in the running for Vernon Carey, the number 2 player in the country. So I don't know how well those two guys want to team up. So I think he goes to Memphis so he can kind of have the Markelle Fultz, the Ben Simmons experience where he gets to play and get his numbers and look good on film, and then whatever happens with his team happens with his team. I mean, we saw the same thing last year, even though injury prevented him from really showing out. Michael Porter chose to go to Missouri just to kind of get his. And the main thing that jumps out to me is being a Kentucky fan, a lot of Kentucky fans are telling me that Cal's starting to lose his edge. Cal's not really been the guy that recruits that number 1 knee player. He usually finds his level around there in that mid-range. In 2009, he didn't really go after Derek Favors. He didn't really go after Kyrie Irving. He didn't really go after Harrison Barnes. He didn't really go after Ben Simmons and those type of guys. I mean, he did miss on Andrew Wiggins and Zion Williams, and he was kind of flustered about that. But for the most part, he doesn't always go after guys like James Wiseman. He wants more of that. Yeah, you're still a 5-star, but you're a 5-star willing to play with other 5-stars. And as much as I would love to have James Wiseman, I don't know if he's that kind of guy. He seems to me like the kind of guy that wants to go have his own team, whether or not they make the playoffs or the tournament, and still put up his own numbers.
I think he goes to Memphis as well, but I think he goes there for some of the more obvious reasons. He's from Memphis. Once you're that hometown kid, this is the stuff that you dream about. I remember when I was little, seeing Florida State every day. I used to dress up, when I was little on Saturdays and my little Florida State everything. I had the helmet and all that stuff, and that was the dream to play for Florida State. When you're from a city like that, they are expecting him to sign in Memphis, to sign with Memphis. They didn't have rappers come over, basically pitch meetings and all this other stuff. He's been on Instagram with these pictures. Not to mention his former high school coach is the head coach at Memphis. Or he's a coach at Memphis. And one of his high school teammates also committed to play at Memphis. I think he goes to Memphis for all of the obvious reasons.
Well, see, Billy, real quick, let me take your points there, and because I followed this guy for the last couple of seasons, there's some slight inaccuracies there, but I think your overall point drives everything home. But also mixed with the point that I was saying, the kid's actually from Nashville. He actually went to Nashville and went to Innsworth, which is a somewhat private school in Nashville, up until his sophomore year. He then went to Memphis East, which was not exactly known as a powerhouse. I truly think that goes back to what we were saying, or what I originally said, that he wanted to play on a team where he was the only guy, because Innsworth is a pretty solid school out of Nashville, football and basketball, like I said, private school. So he goes to Memphis East. He starts playing with DJ Jeffries at Memphis East. He starts playing for Anthony Hardaway on the AAU circuit. He starts liking this Memphis area. And then once Penny got hired as Memphis coach, which in my opinion, the only reason they hired Penny as a Memphis coach, yeah, he was there, but he played at Memphis. But the reason they hired him now is because they wanted James Wiseman. And the reason they hired his high school coach on the staff is the same reason they hired the Porter dad to go coach for Missouri, because they wanted James Wiseman. So I do think I think he went to Memphis to be the me guy, but once he got to Memphis, everything that Memphis has done has been centered around getting this one kid to come here for 1 year in hopes that turns your program to back what it was in the 70s and 80s and early 2000s when Cal was there.
Alrighty, guys. And let's go ahead and move back to the professional ranks here. The Washington Wizards, as of late, have been in the news. Their coach, Scott Brooks, has recently challenged the team to to be more intense at practice, have a little fire, and then John Wall fired back with the to Brooks, and quite frankly, the Wizards are really starting to implode on themselves. Matthew Lau, start with you on this one. Are the Wizards imploding? Is John Wall's future in Washington, D.C. getting short?
Oh, absolutely. I think they're imploding. I think it really goes back to the fact that, even though we talked on the last segment that these kids like to play together and they like to join these super teams, John Wall was one of the early ones playing with DeMarcus Cousins, but he didn't play with someone that was a lot of people viewed as his equal at the same position. You bring in John Wall, you bring in Bradley Beal, and a lot of people argue, which one's better on that one. And they've been butting heads for years, but they've been somewhat making it work, sneaking into that 8-seed playoff. Well, now you have this horrendous start mixed with both guys playing the same guard position. I don't think that Beal doesn't play point, but they're both guards. I think it's getting frustrating. And then to even bring in Billy's point, I think the Wizards are getting at least the same hope to what Billy was talking about, that Kevin Durant is going to sign maybe one more year, if not this is last year, and then come back home. A lot of people made, at least in the Washington area, made a big deal that he came to the game rocking some Redskins gear. He had a Redskin hat at an interview after the fight with Draymond. So a lot of people are trying to read into that. So I think what Washington's doing is saying, hey, can we trade these guys who clearly aren't our future, who clearly don't like each other? Can we trade those guys, get some picks, get some youth, get some role players, and then either this offseason or the next offseason, can we go 100% all in and get the LeBron James of Cleveland effect? Can we get Kevin Durant back home? And I think they think that's a real possibility, and I think they like that potential a lot more than trying to win with Beal and Wall. So I think they came out and said both these guys are on the trading block. I think they try to move both. I think they can successfully move both. They might struggle. Well, they're definitely going to struggle the rest of this year, and they're probably going to struggle next year, depending on what Kevin Durant does. But they're in hopes that in 2020 they got a young nucleus team, and they can bring in Kevin Durant and be a contender.
Billy?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my phone was twitching there. But, Matthew, you had some great points. Just on the KD Redskins thing, he's a huge Redskins fan. Obviously, he grew up right there in the Maryland area. So on that point, and I was a guy before this season that said, watch out for the Washington Wizards. And now they're 5-11. I guess Bradley Beal and John Wall, to your point, these guys just can't coexist with each other. It's almost kind of like what happened in Cleveland, where the head coach wanted to be the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator wanted to be the head coach. So you just fire both of them. That's what this organization is with Bradley Beal and John Wall. We're just going to trade both you guys. I do think that they will get some pretty sizable offers for those two guys, at least for sure a first-round pick for both. But what team, I asked you, Matthew, what team would you think that'll be suited for John Wall or Bradley Beal?
Well, one thing that I've seen, and I really liked, I saw a lot of rumors around this, and I got to thinking about it. I think the best for Beal, in my opinion, would be L.A. I think they could get that big deal. They could bring him in. Reports were saying they could send out Ingram and Kuzma and Thomas Bryant. They could ship him out back to they could ship them to Washington. Another deal that I was seeing was John Wall to Phoenix, which I enjoy watching Phoenix. I enjoy watching Devin Booker. I think John Wall could come in there and have that his own team. Now, how many years you are away from having to the same exact problem you have in Washington, where you have two studs playing two guard positions, I don't know. But those are two teams that I've seen. And if you're Washington, you kind of like that. If you can bring in Josh Jackson, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, if you can bring that and maybe a draft pick or two, if you can have that as your future, that's not a bad squad, especially in the East where there's some questions in that second half of the conference, and then still hoping and praying and fingers crossed and toes crossed that you can get Kevin Durant in a year or two. So I haven't looked enough at the Lakers to see how Bradley Beal would come in there and do, but I think I think they could definitely use a shooting guard. And if John Wall can swallow his pride and take Devin Booker under his wing, I like that backcourt in Phoenix for a team that doesn't have a lot of expectations.
Yeah, to your Phoenix point, I like that John Wall because for me, I think Devin Booker is one of those off-the-ball type guards anyways. Yeah, he can handle the rock, but I think he will prefer being off the rock, catching the ball, catch and shoot, running off screens, and doing his thing there, where Bradley Beal just wasn't excited to do that. Because Bradley Beal thinking, I'm also a point guard. Let me handle the rock. I can dribble. I can get my own shot. And I think John Wall, Devin Booker is like the right combination where John Wall is kind of empty and, Devin Booker is kind of more laid back a little bit. So I think that Phoenix, that's a pretty good move. To Bradley Beal to the Lakers, I like that as well because the Lakers have no shooting. And that's the one thing that they need. When they went and got Tyson Chandler, it's not that I didn't like the move. I just thought that maybe they should be trying to go get a shooter, so somebody can score more points. Because if you're banking on LeBron James leading your team every night shooting threes, although he's shooting it pretty good now, 39%, but you can't bank on that all season long from LeBron being your best shooter. Lonzo seemed like he shoots one and then he shoots an air ball. Ingram is kind of all over the place. Kuzma is probably the next best shooter, but you can't live with that. I thought they should go get a shooter. Bradley Beal would fit in perfect with them, especially if they'll be losing Ingram.
As a Kentucky fan, one thing I like when I look at that Phoenix possibility is, say they get John Wall. I do think John Wall could come in there, and I do think Devin Booker is passive enough to not be frustrated. He would be kind of. He reminds me a lot in a lot of ways to Klay Thompson, where he might just stand over there and catch the ball and shoot, play some defense, have good games, have quiet games, and then you could also, if everything works out well in Golden State for him, they might have the cap to go out and get DeMarcus Cousins, who is going to be looking for a team that can pay him. Cousins and Wall, since they left Kentucky, have joked that one day they will play together again. And then they have Ayton, which is a big man, but Cousins showed you when he played with Anthony Davis, he can if need be, he can sneak out there and play a bigger version of the four. If Ayton doesn't have any kind of outside game, I wouldn't consider Boogie Cousins a three-point shooter, but he can hit some outside shots or some shots outside the paint. So if all that lines up well, you could have, at least for a couple of seasons, you could have a pretty solid, decent team built with Wall, Boogie, Booker, and Ayton if he pans out.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and we're getting a little tight on time here. So let's go ahead and move on to my favorite segment that we do here. It's Overreaction Tuesday. I wrote down 4 or 5 overreactions here, and you guys just give me the first thing that comes to your mind here, overreaction or underreaction. So, Matthew, we will start with you. Andrew Luck has thrown 3 touchdown passes in 7 straight games here. Is he a legitimate MVP candidate? Overreaction, underreaction. Matthew Lyle.
I think his phone may be tripping.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, I was off to the races. I'm going to go underreaction because now he may not win it in the sense of the MVP typically goes to the best player on the best team and look at everything that all these players have done. But when you break those letters down, when you break that acronym, those abbreviations down, it's most valuable player. We showed you a team that without him was horrible. I mean, the Colts team last year it was laughable at times. Andrew Luck comes in here, and yes, he does have T.Y. Hilton, but everybody else, I watch a Colts game, and I'm like, who is he throwing to? He's throwing to ex-basketball players. He's throwing to Ebron, which is coming on pretty nice, but how much love can we give Ebron when Andrew Luck's putting it on everyone? Andrew Luck is just whizzing it out there. So, yeah, I mean, his team's probably not even going to make the playoffs, so I don't know if he's going to get the love that he truly deserves on this. But when you think of the term most valuable player, I can't think of somebody more valuable than Andrew Luck to that team.
Yeah, I think it's a underreaction he's playing really good football right now. Started out the season real rough. He's coming along as of late, as you stated there. But I just think that there's so many other players in the NFL right now that's balling. I don't know if he'll fit the list of MVP candidate.
All right, guys, moving on to the next overreaction, underreaction. Joe Flacco has played his last snap in Baltimore. Matthew Lyle.
I'm going to say overreaction only on the sense that me and Billy talked about this from the get-go. The way Lamar Jackson plays, especially in his rookie and freshman seasons, isn't spectacular. He comes out when you can't prepare for him, and he plays good, and when you prepare for him, he does it. Now teams have a full film on him, so either A, they're going to prepare. I don't think he can run all over him because injury, he's very slight frame. So I think that is a overreaction solely based on the fact that if Lamar gets injured, and depending on if Flacco's healthy enough, I definitely can see Flacco coming back in and getting an opportunity.
I think underreaction or not a overreaction. Joe Flacco is done in Baltimore. Him and John Harbaugh are both out the door. I think what they're trying to do right now, I don't know, because they have to let him walk. Is he an unrestricted free agent this year?
I'm not sure on that. I don't know.
Well, he's out the door. John Harbaugh is going with him. I think that right now they're prepping, they're grooming Lamar Jackson to be that quarterback. Mike, Matthew, to your point, they got RG3. I think they already punted on the season anyways once they put Lamar Jackson in there and didn't start Flacco. So I think now it's the beginning of the Lamar Jackson era. If anything happened now, RG3 will be their quarterback, or they go get one in the draft.
All right, guys. Next, overreaction, underreaction. Aaron Rodgers will be playing for a different coach next season. Matthew Lyle.
I know what Billy's going to go on this. I'm going to go push. I don't think he should because, the team is what the team is. Yeah, you could say McCarthy's wasting Rodgers, but they've put weapons around him, and they've not put a defense around him. I don't know if you can put that on McCarthy or the overall organization. But then again, it's the NFL, and I was surprised when I seen the initial report that not only were they letting Harbaugh go, they were making that announcement early in the season. So there were still games to play with that mutual separation. So I'm going to just push on this. I think you should maybe give him another year, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he has a different coach next year. I just don't know who he's going to get.
Yeah, I think it's not an overreaction. Mike McCarthy is gone. And whether that's fair or not, that's the way the NFL works. And I said a few weeks ago or, on the last few shows or so, when people are saying that you are wasting a guy's career, a generational talent as Aaron Rodgers, that doesn't sit well, and you're going to be fired. Aaron Rodgers still has, at least the way Brady's playing, 6-7 years to go in his prime. So for me, Mike McCarthy is gone. Aaron Rodgers will have a new coach next year.
All right,
and just the last note, it is a copycat league, and everybody sees what McVay's doing. Maybe they can get a young coordinator to come do it.
Exactly.
All righty, guys. Just moving on to the last underreaction of the day. With the win that the Raiders had on Sunday, Derek Carr will be starting quarterback for the Raiders next season. Overreaction, underreaction. Matthew Lyle.
I'm going underreaction just in the fact that I'm not making any kind of huge statement here. I just don't think they're going to get rid of him yet. I don't know how many people are going to take him. Well, we've talked about this. They can't trade him in the season. In the off season, not too many people are excited to trade for veteran quarterbacks because they always have their hopes that they're going to draft one. Let's just say the Raiders come out and draft one with their first pick. I could see the starter starting by week 2 or 3, and John Gruden, you can't put anything past him. But I think Carr will be on the roster next year, and even if they get a young guy, I could at least see Carr starting week 1. Now, if he comes out there and looks horrible, week 2 and week 3 could be a whole different story. But I do think that's an underreaction. I think he will start some point next year.
Yeah, I think it's an underreaction as well. Derek Carr, as you stated, he will be the quarterback week 1 next year. The moment he messes up, Tyrod Taylor, the quarterback, Joe Flacco, whoever it was that was in front of Josh Allen in Buffalo. Once you mess up, it's done, and they go to the quarterback that they're going to take in the draft this year. Because I do believe John Gruden will take a quarterback in the draft to put Derek Carr on notice that if you don't perform well, you won't have a job.
Alrighty, guys, and that will do it for today's show. But as always, we're going to end the show with the rant of the day, and today's rant is Billy Hatton's rant. Billy, take her away, my friend.
So I've been saying this all year long. Me and Matthew has had conversations on the podcast about it. We've had conversations through messaging about it. And that's all of the defensive penalties. I am getting sick and I am getting tired of every single week watching offensive guys, when they do not catch a pass, look at a ref because every play they think is going to be a flag. The hit on Robert Woods last night that they call a hit on a defensive receiver, are you kidding me? Next play, what happens? He scores a touchdown. I don't want to bring any stats in it because the stats sometimes are misleading. And we're talking about some of these penalties are bigger than just the stats. We're talking about penalties that extend drives and score touchdowns. What happens if that's only a field goal right there? And Patrick Mahomes is now have the ball with 1 minute driving just to kick a field goal to win the game. Does he make that throw that Matthew said that he shouldn't have made on first down? We are talking about penalties that's taking away wins off the board and putting ties in the record column. For me, the NFL, of course, this is what the NFL want to do. They want to, score points. They love games like this so they can say, listen, this is better when people are saying this is the greatest game that we've ever seen because there were 51 and 54 points put up on the board. By the way, the first team on Monday night to ever put up 50 points and lose. They like that. They like these storylines. But all of these penalties, man, it has to stop. I'm tired of it. The offense hardly ever gets any penalties unless it's false start or holding. The defense get all the defensive pass interference calls and their spot fouls. The defense get a 5-yard holding penalty. It's an automatic first down. I can't hit a receiver that's trying to catch a touchdown on me. I can't hit him. I have to wait till he catch the ball and then start running and then try to chase him. I can't hit the quarterback because I got to be considerate of me falling on top of him, even though we're all playing football here. The penalties, man, it's killing me. It's killing me.
And
take it away, Mike.
And guys, I have to echo everything what Billy said on that. This is not my rant, of course, but Billy, the prime example of that is that Tyreek Hill catch on the sideline that the Rams number 32, he went for the pick because he was afraid to hit a defenseless receiver that was jumping for a pass.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then Tyreek Hill made an incredible catch on the sideline to just to make the game extended. And then
that was Sam Shields 37. Another play. In the old days, Tyreek Hill would have been blasted.
Right.
But you know what? If he would have hit him there, hit on the defensive receiver. I just don't know what quantifies you as a defensive receiver when you're trying to catch a pass.
And there's also another play that comes to my head. It is another Tyreek play. Hill. He lowers his shoulder into the cornerback, making the tackle, and that cornerback just got ran over, and they called a 15-yard penalty on him for I believe it was a helmet-to-helmet contact or something to that effect.
Yeah, like that.
And it was just, Billy, I have to agree with you 100% on this.
I ain't even mentioned that when the receiver duck his head, and then now what you want me to do? I'm aiming for his body like you want me to, but then he ducked. Now he gets hit in the head, and it's even worse in college game, because in college targeting, it automatically eject you.
And then you're suspended for the first half of this game.
Yeah, it depends on whenever you are. Say it happens. I seen a play in the Texas A&M game on Saturday. Guy had a helmet-to-helmet hit. The receiver ducked his head. They made contact. This was like 1 minute left in the fourth quarter. Now he's suspended for the first half of next week.
Yep.
Like, come on, man, this got to stop. I understand trying to protect guys, but it's overboard.
Yeah, Billy, I have to echo everything you said there, man, but we got to cut it short for today, guys. And as always, thank you for joining RTF Sports Talk. We are live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday mornings, all at 9:45 a.m. on the East Coast. We're live on our YouTube channel, and then directly after the show is uploaded in podcast form, so you can listen to us on your lunch break, on the way home, even on the way to work the next day. We are giving to you guys sports 5 days a week. We love it. We enjoy it. The only thing we ask from you guys is share this with a couple friends. If you are enjoying the content, post it on your Facebook. Share it with a coworker. You guys just share it with 2 friends. That is all we ask. But as always, we'll see you next time, Thursday morning, 9:45 a.m. If you guys are interested in any other podcast, Billy Hatton has Unpopular Opinion here on the RTF Productions channel as well. I believe, Billy, you're going live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Is that correct?
Yes, 1 p.m. Eastern.
1 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 11 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yes.
So guys, catch Billy tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we'll be back at RTF Sports Talk at 9:45 a.m. on the East Coast. Have a good day, y'all.